Free and Equal segment tonight. Another day, another example of crazy government regulations. This time, it's a farmer who's facing a $2.8 million fine. His crime? Plowing his own field. Joining me now is the man himself, the farmer, the owner of Duarte Nursery, John Duarte. John, thanks for being here.
Good to be here, Liz. Thanks for having us on.
John, this is a crazy story. This is absolutely nuts. So you are facing a $2.8 million fine from the federal government for plowing your own field. What is going on?
$2.8 million fine, and they would like me to give $20 to $30 million of additional money I don't have to a wetland mitigation bank to restore and protect wetlands in perpetuity.
Right, this is absolutely ridiculous. So let's journey back a little bit to the beginning here. So you bought, my understanding is you bought 450 acres of land in 2012, about 5 years ago. This land is nearby to protected wetlands owned by the federal government. You were aware of the location of your land at the time that you purchased it, correct?
Yeah, this is private land. It's farmland we bought up in Northern California above Sacramento in the Central Valley. And it's got a history of wheat farming. More recently, in the last couple decades, wheat prices have been very low. So this land's been mainly cattle grazed over the last couple decades. In 2010, as you recall, Liz, we had the tortilla riots in Mexico. There was a global food shortage. Many people accused the Arab Spring and all the riots and instability in the Middle East on food shortages globally and the cost of food globally. The price of wheat was high. This had been a wheat field before, so we planted wheat on 450 acres of wheat ground.
Right, and to do so, my understanding is that you were required to get a permit from the federal government, and you didn't do that, you didn't know that, or you failed to do it?
No, that's what's contended by the government, is I should have gotten a permit to farm these wetlands. There's never been a 404 wetland permit issued to a farmer in the history of the 404 permit process. So they're telling me I needed a permit that no one's ever received before or applied for. They're also stating that I should have farmed around some small depressions in the field. Picture a very boring piece of property, not the
Sure.
Everglades here. This is a rolling grasslands area, very gentle rolling dry grasslands most of the year. Every property like this has a few low spots where the water collects or where it pools a little bit during rain. Vernal pools are simply low spots in the grassland where water might stand for 2 weeks after a major rain event. Or swales where the water kind of drains down through slowly after major rain events. That's what we're talking about here. Seasonal wetlands, low spots, dark spots in the grass in grasslands.
Right, and my understanding is that farmers are generally exempt from obtaining those type of permits, or even from I guess considerations of those type of seasonal wetlands themselves. So John, my question is, why you? Why is the federal government coming after you for farming your own field?
Well, we stood up to them. They drove by while we were tilling for wheat, and they misunderstood what we were doing as being deep ripping, which means ripping in the ground 3, 6, very deep to prepare for orchards or vineyards. You've got to till up the ground deeper than you would for a grass crop. They thought we were doing that. We weren't. They sent us a cease and desist notice and said, you're destroying wetlands with your deep ripping. Stop operating your farm. At that point, we sent them a letter back, said, hey, what exactly makes you believe that? Send us what information you have. They sent us a second letter, said, now you've been kicked up to enforcement.
So they didn't even confirm with you. They didn't even confirm with you that you were doing the deep ripping, because you weren't. My understanding is that you were only plowing a matter of inches into the ground.
They put an expert team out there in their prosecution of us. Well, we filed a due process suit through the Pacific Legal Foundation, Fifth Amendment due process civil rights suit, saying we have a right to due process. You can't tell us to stop farming our farm because you drove by and thought you saw something. And so after we filed that lawsuit, and our first judge, Judge Carlton, Eastern District federal judge in Sacramento, wouldn't kick out the case and let our complaint go forward, they then filed a retaliatory destruction of wetlands suit against our company and me personally for destroying wetlands. When they got the Department of Justice expert team out there to prepare their case, they confirmed that our tillage was 4 to 7 inches deep. So it wasn't what they thought it was. It was what we told them it was to begin with. So they then had to make up a theory of prosecution that would allow them to go forward instead of doing what most reasonable groups would do and just stop and reconsider the prosecution. I'll read you, if it's okay, a bit from their expert report. So here they thought it was deep ripping. They found out it was 4 to 7 inches deep, and they're claiming that the little plants that live in these special little low spots in the ground, the vernal pools, are just obliterated, which this ground has been farmed to wheat many times before, and nobody farms wheat around vernal pools. Everyone farms right through them. So what they're asking for is unprecedented. They complain in their expert report, if these plant associations were compared to neighborhoods of people in a small town, then the tillage could be compared to a tornado that blows in and completely uproots and rearranges the entire functioning community of neighborhoods. Then they go on, the furrow tops now serve as small mountain ranges, microtopographic high spots. So they're inventing a theory of prosecution. They're inventing terms of art to prosecute this.
It seems ridiculous. I mean, I don't claim to be a farming expert by any means, but it seems like they're more worried about their analogy with a twister upsetting, you know, the neighborhood of these plants than they are worried about upsetting an actual neighborhood, your actual livelihood. And John, that's my question. Like, delving into this deeply, if they're trying to invent a theory of prosecution, why don't they want you to be doing what you're doing? I mean, surely these little pools of wetlands, seasonal wetlands, that you say farmers routinely plant crops in, surely they're not truly concerned about that.
I don't know what their theory is or what their motivation is. This is Tehama County. It's a county in Northern California with 65,000 people, a Walmart, farming, and an Indian casino. It's got 14% unemployment. Now, one of the arguments in one of your previous sections was that theoretically it's okay to abort babies if they don't have great economic opportunities, but it's not okay to plant wheat and develop our farm communities and develop our rural economy to create opportunities for people. I don't know. I won't attempt to understand or explain the progressive perspective on this and why this prosecution is so important. I'm very thankful we have the administration in power now that we do. I think if under Hillary's administration, Hillary Clinton's, this would have been just another aspect of the metastasized corruption throughout our government.
Right, and I think this is a good example, too, of what happens when the federal government becomes too powerful and they have that, you know, that long overreach and they get involved in people's lives where they don't belong at all. John, this is the last question. We're almost out of time for the segment today, but you're going to court in August over this. What do you expect there?
Well, I don't want to criticize the judge. She's a judge. I need to show respect, but we haven't had any good news from this judge yet. The Army Corps and Department of Justice are looking for $2.8 million, and they want us to give $20 to $30 million in addition to private wetland banks, which would then be free to do what they want with that, including supporting political causes. If we don't get this derailed in its prosecution by the Trump Department of Justice under Jeff Sessions before then, it could ruin our company. Our company cannot withstand this. The bank is going crazy. You can't have these kinds of pending liabilities. We have a GoFundMe account. We're looking for publicity and information about this, as well as financial support. We've spent over $2 million on attorneys just fighting this case. It's Duarte Stands Up at GoFundMe. And I tell people, I don't care if you give me $5 or if you can give me $1,000, please do something on that account and then Facebook it and use your social media and get the awareness of this out there. If they can do it to me, they can do this to any farmer in America.
Right. Listen, John, we're dedicated on this show to exposing abuse, helping protect the little guy when the government is abusing their power and their authority. You seem to be a perfect example of that, I'm sorry to say in a sense, but you're welcome back on the show anytime. Please come back with updates, but that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks for having me.